Thank you very much. I'm going to be very short, very brief today, and this is largely because a number of media houses have been calling to get our reaction to the ruling of the Caribbean Court of Justice that was just delivered, and they want to know what are the next steps. And so instead of doing all of these interviews, I just decided to make a short comment here. And then what I want is for people to listen to the entire ruling that was delivered by the President of the Caribbean Court of Justice. Because once you listen to that, you would know, you would recognize how strong this ruling has been and the clear guidance that it has set out to GCOM and to the Chief Elections Officer as to how they must act. So we are extremely pleased that the Caribbean Court of Justice has set aside the decision of the Court of Appeal of Guyana. We believed from the beginning that that decision of the Court of Appeal was perverse. We argued that they lacked jurisdiction, that the article of the Constitution that they used to determine, to infringe on other matters related to the elections had nothing to do with the qualification of the president. And therefore, they were acting outside of the jurisdiction. And we knew that once that ruling stood and had we not appealed it and got it set aside, then Lowenfield would have, as he did, used the ruling to justify the illegal report that he did, which is to disenfranchise over 115,000 people. And as we suspected, the very night when we filed the ruling, the appeal, we filed it about 1 a.m. in the morning, immediately after the Court of Appeal decision, the following day, Lowenfield presented, as we suspected, this fraudulent report citing the ruling by the Court of Appeal as his justification for doing so. So we were right. And today, we've been vindicated in the sense that the Court of Appeal acted in excess of its jurisdiction. So we're extremely pleased that the court set aside the Court of Appeal decision, the Caribbean Court of Justice. That's the first thing. We're extremely pleased that they also set aside Lowenfield's report that had fraudulently disenfranchised over 115,000 persons. But in doing so, the president of the court, reading out what was part of the summary of a unanimous decision, all 5 judges agreed to this, he pointed out how Lowenfield had acted unlawfully. And he took great pain to explain what a valid vote is in accordance with the Representation of the People Act. And he pointed out that he outlined the entire process through which the recount had gone through. And he mentioned that only valid votes were counted after invalid votes were weeded out at the count stage or the recount stage. Then these are votes that may be invalidated for lack of an official stamp, etc. So he went to great length to point this out. And so the chief executive officer is bound, and in the summary it says that he needs to prepare the report in accordance with the instructions given to him by the chair of GCOM, which is to use the recount data, which shows a PPP victory. So let us see now, since Lowenfield said he got guidance from the Court of Appeal, now he has superior guidance from the Caribbean Court of Justice that he must prepare a report in accordance with the instructions given to him by the chair, and that he has no authority to invalidate any vote, that authority rests with, or can only be exercised through an elections petition after the results have been declared, and therefore all of the allegations made by Joseph Harmon and everyone else can be dealt with at that stage through an elections petition. So the CEO has clear guidance now. Let us see if he will continue to act unlawfully or in accordance with the guidance of the Caribbean Court of Justice, a superior court. Now, he could be contemptuous, given that some of them have acted in such a brazen manner that he could act in contempt of the court. So a lot depends on the next few days, but what we expect now is that the entire commission and the CEO has had clear guidance from the Caribbean Court of Justice as to what constitutes a valid vote, that's one, and two, that the recount figure basically, according to the instructions of the chair, must be complied with. We expect that they will the chair will convene a meeting and move this process speedily to a conclusion, and that it would end up in the declaration of the president. We hope that APNU will not continue with its endeavors to block that, to block the speedy conclusion of the elections process. The president of the court pointed out that it's over a year now that Guyana has been without a parliament, an active parliament. And you know the international community, even before this ruling, has been very, very vocal on the use of the recount data to declare the results and about the threatened consequences, the sanctions. Now the international community, bolstered by a ruling of Guyana's highest court, which is the Caribbean Court of Justice, in a unanimous decision that they made today, the international community must feel vindicated, as well as all of the people who are in favor of democracy and fairness and a speedy conclusion to these elections, to even strengthen their fight to ensure that we go to complete this process and get the new president sworn in. I hope that President Granger listened carefully to the ruling of the Caribbean Court of Justice, and he now will know he has no excuse for the shenanigans that Harmon and the others have been practicing. He has no excuse because he's heard the court made it clear that the CEO must act lawfully, and they have invalidated his fraudulent report. The same report that they were saying they won on the basis of that report, that has been invalidated by the CCJ. The same one that Amna Ali and all the others, they printed thousands of copies and shared it around the country last week, and they were saying, look, we won the elections. Well, that report has been invalidated because the CEO acted unlawfully. So I hope that you can, as I said before, look at the entire. We're going to play it immediately, so stay on the Facebook page, and you can watch, if you didn't watch it before, watch the entire ruling of this summary. It gives you a clear picture as to how strong and how reasoned, and all of those people who were claiming CCJ didn't have any jurisdiction, they should listen to the reasoning of the court. They would not have had any jurisdiction had the Court of Appeal confined themselves to a narrow matter that the Constitution gives them final jurisdiction over. That is the qualification of the president. But they did not. they dealt with not the validity of the president or the qualifications of the president, but the validity of the ballot, as the president of the court mentioned. So please watch it, and we are hoping to work over the next few days with all the people who want to see an end to this, including the international community, to bring this to a speedy conclusion. You never know what APNU comes up with next, but I think now that the court has ruled, the final court, and with the international community involved, then we have to take more drastic steps to bring this to a conclusion. Thank you.